Here's the kind of government I want to see. Like, you take a city the size of Spokane, it's 220,000 people. You get rid of the mayor and the city council. So they all get fired. And then instead of that, you put 10 measures up that are voted and proposed by the people under a certain word count of maybe like 500 words. Then we have a vote of the first 10 at noon every day. And if 22,000 people don't vote for it, which would be 1% of the population, then it gets put over to the next day and it'll last a week and then it dies if nobody votes on it. You need at least 51%, or over 50%, it could be 50.01%, as long as 22,000 people or 1% of the city votes on it. So 10 of those a day. 500 word limit, proposed by the people, voted on by the people, can last a week to get the 22,000 votes at noon for a week. So if it doesn't pass on Monday and it doesn't pass on Tuesday, if it reaches Sunday, nobody votes on it, or 22,000 people don't vote on it, then it dies. If it's 50-50, then it dies. It's got to be 50 plus a little bit more to pass. So if it gets 50-50 or less, it dies. And it can last a week. 10 things to vote on a day. And it has to have a vote of 22,000 people at least in Spokane, or 1% of the population. So you can do this at the federal level. You could, but it has to have at least 3 million people at the federal level, 3.2 million people at the federal level to pass 1%. And it's got to be at least 50.001 or over 50% in order to pass. 50-50 or less, and it dies. And it lasts a week. 10 proposals a day from the people. You have to have a constitution that can't change. Like, one of the laws is you can't kill people, and then we vote as a country what constitutes murder. It could be abortion if that's most of the country, but once we decide what constitutes as murder, then we don't allow it. Theft of unused property is not theft. Theft of used property is theft. Vandalization of your own property is legal. Other people's property, not legal. If it's like everybody owns it in common, like it's a tree in the woods, can you carve on it? We'll vote on something like that. As long as we have a contract beforehand of certain things that we think are things that we can't change. Something on that could be, all drugs are legal or just pot. I would say anything for consenting adults is legal as long as there is a contract between them that is written and doesn't hurt anybody outside that contract. So if you want to have a death match with 5 other people and they all sign on to do it, you should be able to do it, but it has to be contracted to do that. Non-consenting adult stuff would of course be illegal. Stuff with other species would be illegal, but we would determine how much we could use for food before all the assemblies. So we'd spend maybe a year trying to get down like 10 to 20 rules that can't change. And then that's our binding contract, and it's what's known as a dead document. It's not a living document like our Constitution. Once we're at that point, then we can't change it. That's the rule. unless we decide as a group to completely get rid of the whole thing and start all over again. You can't do just like line item on that. You either get rid of the whole thing and start over again by vote, but you can't do it one by one. All jobs in the society, whether you're a janitor or a doctor, would pay you 1 Bitcoin a year, which is about $8,000. So all jobs would pay the same. Sometimes the Bitcoin is worth 6,000, sometimes it's worth 20,000. So every job gets 1 Bitcoin a year, whether you're a doctor or, just a social media blogger. Everybody gets that. But you have to be doing something that is determined by your local area to be something that is worthy of a job. If your city decides you being a social media person is not beneficial to the city, then you have to pick another job if you want your 1 Bitcoin a year. But no matter what you do, you get 1 Bitcoin a year. But if you have a job, then you get 2 Bitcoins a year. And we determine as a city what constitutes as a job. It could be a doctor or a social media person like me or whatever, YouTube celebrity. 1 Bitcoin a year, doctor, 1 Bitcoin a year. You don't do anything but sit on your ass, 1 Bitcoin a year. But if you have that job, you get 2 Bitcoins. No politicians. 10 proposals a day that'll last for a week. 500 words or less proposed by the people. And a contract that says you can't do certain things, like maybe murder wouldn't be legal. And then we would determine what is murder on the federal level, and everybody follows those rules. No, anything else, the city rules would be voted on by the people. That's why you'd have them, or you'd do it at the state level, as long as they don't break that contract of 10 to 20 rules that can't change unless you dissolve the entire contract and start all the way over. So you could dissolve the entire contract if the people voted on it. But one of the rules might be that we always have a direct democracy, never a monarchy, never a representative democracy. Nothing but a direct democracy would be rule number 1.